The president sent ICE to airports and threatened to obliterate Iran's power plants, then backed off after talks with Iran that Iran said are not happening, then blamed Pete Hegseth for the war. And he also spent the weekend posting a bunch of deranged stuff to his social media account. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Over the weekend, Robert Mueller passed away. Now, you might expect the President of the United States to show some decorum and decency when a former public servant or any American dies, but that's because you forgot Donald Trump was the president. You saw Project Hail Mary over the weekend, and you were just so happy that Ryan Gosling brought back the magic and the wonder of the cinema that you forgot about the reality of the world. And then you walked out of the theater, and you looked at your phone, and you saw a notification from President Donald J. Trump, and you said, me.
The president has just posted on Truth Social following the death of former FBI Director Robert Mueller. It says, Robert Mueller just died. Good, I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people.
You sound like an aging Hollywood starlet who hasn't left her mansion in 5 years, finding out her husband just died. Good, I'm glad he's dead. He stole my best years from me. Weatherby, darling. Fetch my finest mink and go to the funeral so I can spit on his grave. Bring a glass of water. I can't generate spit anymore. What's really galling to me is when Trump's cronies demand that we have limitless patience and understanding for him, even though he has none for anyone else.
Do you think it's appropriate for the President of the United States to celebrate the death of an American citizen, someone who's a Bronze Star, Purple Heart recipient and who served in Vietnam?
Kristen, I was with the President in the green room at Davos, and there was a video playing of what may have been an illegal raid on his home at Mar-a-Lago. They are going through his wife's wardrobe, and I watched the look in his eye, and I think that neither one of us can understand what has been done to the president and to his family.
Is it appropriate for the president to celebrate the death of any American citizen,
again,
Mr. Secretary?
I think that given what has been done to President Trump and his family, it is impossible for either of us to understand what he has been through.
So you don't think that there's anything wrong with the post saying, good, Robert Mueller's dead?
Again, I think that we should all have a little empathy for what has been done to him and his family.
I'm sorry, empathy for the Trumps? Is this the same family that made billions of dollars on some crypto coin the last year? What empathy should we have? How will they ever find time to spend it all? He just said he's glad someone died, but we have to tiptoe around his feelings like he's a rabid dog during a thunderstorm. He's very agitated by loud noises. Just keep your distance, and if he bites you, say, I understand where you're coming from, Cujo. And then get to the hospital as fast as you can, because you definitely have rabies. This is MAGA in one sentence. Empathy for me, but not for you. The hypocrisy shouldn't be surprising, considering the same people who spent years complaining about celebrities and participation trophies now line up behind a celebrity who collects participation trophies like they're Labubus. Also, I have to go back to this part.
There was a video playing of what may have been an illegal raid on his home at Mar-a-Lago. They are going through his wife's wardrobe.
No, not her prize collection of hats that double as lampshades. Seriously, why do you have that hat? You look like you're at Barney's funeral. Good, I'm glad he's dead. Now we can no longer hurt people with his stupid songs. Where's my empathy? All right, but so what? So maybe you're saying to yourself, fine, the president's obnoxious. He's not someone I'd want to hang out with, but at least he's got the government humming like a Ferrari. And by the way, I know if you're watching this show, that's not actually what you're saying. It's just a little rhetorical trick we do to set up a clip package. It's fun. We like it. I'm gonna do it now. Who cares if he's a bad guy, you say? Everything's running smoothly and going great.
Markets are tumbling right now and the oil is surging.
Oil prices soaring to their highest level since 2022.
The gallon of gas now up nearly 50 cents in a week.
War in Iran has caused some concerns about inflation.
We lost jobs in February. We've lost jobs 4 of the last 7 months.
Travel chaos, and chaos is a word across the country, as airports struggle with TSA staffing shortages.
There is no end in sight for the continued problems at airports across the country. Hours-long security lines are becoming the norm.
The DHS shutdown is causing TSA workers to go without pay and leading to workers quitting or having to call out sick.
Wait times at Atlanta and airports across the country are not just long today, but painfully long, stretching for hours.
Houston, Atlanta, and we're hearing about similar scenes at LaGuardia this morning. It's TSA lines that last for up to 2 hours.
If I was flying back to New York and I was on a TSA line that was 2 hours long, I would simply call my family and tell them I live here now. That's where I would live, wherever I happen to be. I have stand-up shows in Missouri next month, and I'm already looking at houses in the St. Louis area on Zillow. Did you guys know you can buy a house that doesn't share a wall with a neighbor who practices the trumpet at 7 a.m.? Mickey, I'm moving to St. Louis. I'm sad too, buddy. I'm sad too. We're going to keep doing the show, but they're going to have to change the backdrop. So there's chaos. There's chaos at airports, but don't worry, the president is on it. He's sending the best of the best to help, an elite squad of civil servants who've been through rigorous training with impeccable qualifications. I'm just kidding. He's sending ICE.
President Trump says ICE will deploy to U.S. airports starting today to assist with the TSA.
Can you tell us anything about how this would work with ICE showing up at the airports?
We're finalizing plans today, but there's a lot of things that TSA does. It doesn't require like specialized training, right? Like you have exit lanes where people leave the airport. Now people try to enter those exit lanes. That's a security breach. Well, an ICE agent can maintain those exits.
With respect, if you're doing this in 24 hours, how well thought out could it possibly be?
How much of a plan does it mean to guard an exit to make sure no one comes through that exit?
That's what you think the TSA does? Just keep people from going through exits? I think you're thinking of Hodor. So you think it's not that hard to guard exits? Okay, well, how hard is it to check for ICE on the ground before you take off in a dead run and fall on your ass? Can you imagine those same dudes on the people movers at airports? Help! Help! Steve! The ground's moving, Steve! Find me at Hudson News! Don't forget about me, Steve! So you guys are sending an agency whose own leaders call their performance pathetic and a disaster because their recruits keep failing physical and academic tests into chaotic airports with massive crowds, and your plan is how hard could it be to guard an exit? You sound like the head of security at the Louvre trying to get a job for your screw-up brother-in-law. Come on, give a break. Used to be a mall security guard in Paramus. Let him guard the exit. How hard? No one's going to steal from the Louvre. So the situation at airports is bad, and with rising oil prices, airfares are also going up. But again, Trump's aides want you to have one takeaway from all of this. Be nice to the president, okay?
What's your advice to Americans that are planning air travel in the weeks or months ahead? I mean, we've seen prices have already gone up significantly.
Well, we haven't seen a significant spike in airline tickets because of this conflict. But again, I think we have to offer the president grace.
They're talking about Trump the way your therapist talks about self-care. You have to give yourself empathy and grace. Put your phone down, start a bubble bath, and just relax. Close your eyes. Imagine you're at the beach, or you're the president in the Oval Office. People are waiting for hours on TSA lines to get on flights that are more expensive because of an oil crisis caused by a reckless and unnecessary war the president can't even explain. And we have to give him grace, the guy who tweeted this?
Now, with the death of Iran, the greatest enemy America has is the radical left, highly incompetent Democrat Party.
You don't get to on everyone else and then act like a wilting flower when people criticize you. The radical left Democrats are the enemy. I'm happy Robert Mueller is dead, but when you speak of me, please be gentle with your words. Your slings and arrows gravely wound me. I am but a vulnerable, modest soul. I beg of you, please, extend to me your empathy and your grace. So Trump's cabinet wants us to extend empathy and grace to him while Americans suffer with long lines, high gas prices he caused. But don't worry, Trump has a plan. The whole Iran war thing is about to come to an end.
The president posting, "We are getting very close to meeting our objectives as we consider winding down our great military efforts in the Middle East."
Boom, there you go. We're winding down the war we started in the first place. Doesn't make any sense, but whatever. The quicker it ends, the better. That's good news.
If Iran doesn't fully open, without threat, the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first.
Okay, that seems like the opposite of winding down. Hit and obliterate sounds like a text Pete Hegseth used to send about happy hour. 5 o'clock, baby! Let's hit and obliterate O'Callahan's. Still, you heard him. The president has made it clear, Iran, you better play ball or he will hit and obliterate.
Just moments ago, President Trump said he is now postponing his threat to strike Iran's power plants if Iran didn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
He said on Truth Social that based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Pentagon to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period.
What happened to hit and obliterate? The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. The regime is still in place. None of the military goals have been met. But fine, de-escalation's good. Diplomacy's good. I'm glad to hear Trump and Iran are engaging in dialogue.
Media in Iran this morning is saying there has been no direct or indirect contact with Trump.
The Iranians are saying this is fake news. This is coming from Fars, their semi-official news agencies, and they are saying that this has not happened. There are no talks.
What is happening? I'm moving to St. Louis. Mr. President, can you please explain who in Iran are you talking to?
President. A top person. We're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader. It's a little tough. We've wiped out everybody.
Is that the Supreme Leader?
No, not the Supreme Leader, but the people that seem to be running it, and they seem that based on really fact, because things they've said have taken place. Mr. President, again, Mr. President, I know you before you. I don't want them to be killed.
I don't want them to be killed, but if they were to be killed, I would immediately on their grave with a post on Truth Social. The minute they die, you're gonna get my true feelings about them. None of them are good. Can you at least tell us what the plan is if these talks do work out?
What about the Strait of Hormuz? Who's going to be in control of
That'll
that?
be opened very soon if this works.
How soon? And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
Fine, go.
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in
Me and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is.
Whoa. Don't overwhelm us with details. You answered that like the question was, who's coming to game night? I don't know, me, the Ayatollah, maybe the Ayatollah's roommate. Also, has this been the plan from the beginning that you and the Ayatollah were gonna go into business together? I'm not sure how Barnes and Noble started collaborating, but I'm guessing it wasn't because Barnes killed Noble's dad. I'll do fiction, you do nonfiction. You killed my dad! So the war is wildly unpopular, and it's getting even more unpopular as it drags on. And here's how you know it's not going well. Today, Trump generously gave someone else credit for coming up with the idea.
I called Pete, I called General Kane, I called a lot of our great people. We have great people, and I said, let's talk. We got a problem in the Middle East. Pete, I think you were the first one to speak up, and you said, let's do it.
I think Pete was the one who came up with this whole war idea. You were the one, Pete, who came, I was skeptical at first. I said, won't this spike oil prices? But Pete over here, he said, I think it's gonna work out perfectly. And if it doesn't, it's my fault, not yours. A lot's on the line for old Pete over here. We have soaring gas prices, chaos at airports, and the president's posting deranged stuff from his social media account while blaming other people for a wildly unpopular war he can't explain. I don't know what he's gonna do in Iran, but when it comes to his poll numbers, it seems like his plan is to
hit and obliterate.
This has been A Closer Look.